Hi. Um, this is a continuation of the series that I've been doing on Ron Paul and the Libertarians and some questions, answering some questions about it and the way I see it. I'm not a rank and file libertarian, and I don't subscribe to every single one of their beliefs. Now, don't feel as if you're watching this as your first video that you need to watch the others or whatever. Each video, I think, is arranged in such a fashion that it stands alone as it answers concerns. The primary antagonist for this video series has been Barking Madly, who's asked some, I think, very good and very common questions about, or along the lines of, is Ron Paul the right choice for the Republican Party? This video is going to deal with Ron Paul's stance on eliminating federal departments, such as Department of Education, Department of Energy. If you look at his platform, you can see what his beliefs are on that. Now I'll be addressing some common concerns. Before we go further, in Barking Madly's video, that's with 2 D's, by the way. The Barking Madly that only has 1 D doesn't make videos. It's a good name for a channel too, by the way. I don't think I've mentioned it yet. One thing I noticed come out in the course of your video, you mentioned federal programs and how you trusted a federal program, but you weren't so sure about a second-rate state program having the ability to regulate something such as energy or nuclear regulation. I would recommend you give pause to that for a moment, and I'm curious what it is that would make you believe that somehow a federal organization would be superior in its ability to judge what is best for a community. I believe that a community can judge what is best for itself if it had that ability. How does a person in some areas of our great country, not counting Hawaii and Alaska, Washington, where the headquarters of these programs are, is 2,000 some odd miles away. You're going to sit at your desk and determine the fate of a community. I don't know. I don't see how that is superior to the guy who, if for some reason somebody wants to put up a nuclear power plant in their backyard, I would imagine the person who's going to get that nuclear power plant in their backyard is going to be on task. So I don't think the logic of a national regulatory commission holds water in the way you present it. Now, does the NRC have great abilities and some smart cookies, and do they know what they're doing? Yes. They've been at it for a long time, and I have some friends that actually work for them. And he's one of the smartest people I know. That they are very good, and they are the cream of the crop, and I feel that in the cases of something like a nuclear power plant, we got to give pause and say, okay, well, on a national level, because such a device can affect the whole entire nation should a catastrophe occur, then oh yes, that, in my opinion, is when a federal program gets to go ahead and step in. Other things such as a federal Department of Education, the where that department's at right now and what it's doing for our nation's education system, I don't think is consistent with its original commission. There are many other examples where the federal department has actually outgrown and outlived its ability to be effective. And I think to have a person in the office of president to actually, instead of just saying, well, we have these programs, we've always had these programs, we always will have these programs, but to have a sitting president say, well, how effective is this program really? And can we afford it? You can't take from a very, very productive location and necessarily give it to an unproductive location just willy-nilly. Uh, in the long run, it doesn't make sense. Now, from a social liberal standpoint, it does, because national quality of life is national quality of life. However, you're going to have locations in our nation that are productive and then locations of our great nation that aren't productive. The places that are productive should get the most food so that they can continue to do well. You shouldn't cripple them just because you can. I think, again, that as president, he couldn't just say, well, that's over, that's over, that's over, everything's done. It doesn't work that way. It's only by law. Again, it's only by law. So he would have to convince the Congress, who's going to hate him, to do certain things. But I think it's a good idea to have a guy up there that says, what are you doing for this country? To actually audit these programs, I think would be wonderful. Do they need to be eliminated? I don't know. But they could sure stand to be audited. And they could sure stand to be brought in line with what our country's economy can provide for. Our national debt, to me, is a testament to how far we're going with the stuff that we can't afford to do. And by writing all these checks, all these blank checks, it takes away from our future. Yeah, we could take a liberal economic standpoint and say, well, fiat currency means nothing. But let me tell you something. This fiat currency that we're printing out, it represents purchasing ability towards real commodities. And those real commodities are, in fact, finite. You can't just change the rules like that. It doesn't work like that. And it's time for us to put a guy on top that is smart enough to recognize that. Now, I just gave the two examples of those departments, and make of it what you will. I mean, the same logic process that I used towards those two can be used towards any federal department, any extra constitutional department. There are many of these constitutional departments. There are many of these federal departments that, with all the Congress people we have, why can't they do that job? And you say, well, Congress is just a bunch of lawyers. Why should they be? Why can't they earn their pay? Why don't they do more commensurate with what it is that they can do? Why don't they do their job like they're supposed to with the economy? Why don't they do their job like they're supposed to with interstate commerce? Same for the judicial branch. They're just sitting on their high damn hill and giving a go, no go. It could be a lot more. And we should demand a lot more from the people in those stations, all the way down to the state. Something needs to happen there's a reason why your impression on people in government on a state and local level is second rate. There's a reason for that, and I agree. And the reason is those people, so many times, they're second rate because those stations are a stepping stone for them to get to national, to make the big bucks from the lobbyists or whatever from their campaign. That ain't cool. I want a person who wants to be a state representative, be a state representative. I want a person who wants to be a county commissioner, be a county commissioner. Not a person be a county commissioner who's ultimate goal is to be a federal senator. You know, it's not cool. So I think all these discussions are very healthy, and there's work to be done. Y'all take care.